Okay, so allow me to confer immunity upon you and your entire team. Whenever you submit before a parliamentary committee, you tend to enjoy the exact benefits that are enjoyed by honorable members of parliament during the sitting of parliament. Therefore, in line with the laws of Zambia, precisely cap 12, you have immunity. Whatever you're going to say or submit during our interaction cannot be used against you in any courts of law or anywhere within Zambia. However, the same cap 12 can be used against you and your team if you deliberately mislead this committee. This committee is very confident that you cannot deliberately mislead it. Therefore, it urges you to feel free as you make your submission. You may kindly proceed, PS.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson. We are here to make a submission on two explanatory memorandum. That is on the Civil Aviation Authority Amendment Bill number 9 of 2024, as well as Amendment Bill, the Civil Aviation Amendment Bill number 10 of 2024. I will start with Bill number 9 of 2024. By way of the introduction, Chair, the Civil Aviation Authority Act number 7 of 2012 is one of the principal aviation legislations that provide for the regulation and promotion of civil aviation. It establishes the Civil Aviation Authority and provides for its powers in order to ensure civil aviation safety and security. The International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO, audits the aviation safety and aviation security oversight capacities of its 193 member states, and ICAO assesses a state's capability in providing safety oversight by assessing whether the state has effectively and consistently implemented the 8 critical elements of the safety oversight system. ICAO also conducts ICAO coordinated validation missions, known as ICVMs, for states with a significant safety concern based on various factors, including risk indicators, previous audit results, deferrals, the level of activities in the state, and progress made by states in resolving identified deficiencies. Once sufficient information is received indicating that the significant concern has been resolved. Over the years, ICAO audits conducted in Zambia have indicated several lacunas in the sector, including in the principal aviation legislation. The audits have proved that Act number 7 of 2012 has lacunas that could result in serious safety concerns and is also inadequate for the Civil Aviation Authority to undertake some of its functions effectively. Zambia has been scheduled for an ICAO audit in August 2024. The audit will focus on, among other things, legislation, which is evidence-based, and autonomy of the aviation regulator, the CAA. In preparation for the audit, a gap analysis of all audit protocol questions was conducted, and this revealed that some of the protocol questions require amendments to Act number 7 of 2012. Government has therefore seen it fit to amend the Civil Aviation Act number 7 of 2012 in order to comply with the Chicago Convention and the ICAO standards and recommended practices and avoid registering any significant safety concern during the ICAO audit scheduled for August 2024. Chair, in 2009, ICAO conducted a universal safety oversight audit program in which 98 findings were recorded, including one significant security concern, resulting in Zambia being put on the Audit Result Review Board watch list and the EU ban list, leading to Zambian registered aircrafts being banned from entering the European airspace. During the 2014 audit, Zambia stood at 48% in its effective implementation, which is a measure of a state's safety oversight capability, and 60% during the 2016 audit. Both scores in relation to effective implementation were below the recommended world average of 75%. In 2016, the European Union lifted its suspension of Zambia registered aircraft from entering the European airspace, and the country is scheduled for continuous monitoring approach, audit, and an ICAO coordinated validation mission in August 2024, and it is imperative, Chair, to address some of the gaps in the primary legislation to get positive results. In terms of the gaps identified in the Act number 7 of 2012, I'll read through them, Chair. Currently, the principal legislation has the following gaps. A, the current Act does not provide for the domestication of Article 83 BIS of the Chicago Convention. The article assists with the structuring of cross-border aviation transactions by providing a mechanism for ensuring safe oversight of an aircraft that is operated from another state. Owing to the increase in the number of foreign airlines operating in Zambia, domestication of this article is cardinal to enhancing the safety of the Zambian aviation industry. B, the current Act does not provide for the domestication of the protocol relating to an amendment to the Convention on International Civil Aviation, Article 3 BIS, which provides for mechanisms to address the threat posed by the use of weapons against civil aircraft in flight and enhanced security measures to protect the safety of passengers and crew on board. C, air navigation services. The current Act has inadequate provisions to ensure that air navigation services called for under Article 28 of the Chicago Convention are provided for in accordance with ICAO SARPs or established from time to time pursuant to the Chicago Convention. And D, inadequate provisions on the application and issuance of certificates and licenses. The current Act has inadequate provisions on the amendment, modification, suspension, and revocation of certificates, particularly on personnel licenses. And E, monitoring and enforcing compliance. The current Act does not provide for authorized officers to inspect and have access to the manuals, certificates, approvals, authorizations, permits, procedures, technical files, personnel files, and personnel licenses in enforcing any of the laws. Enhancing powers of authorized officers is cardinal to enhancing compliance and thereby safety. We have an attachment as Appendix 1 which shows the matrix of the proposed amendments to the current Act. It's worth noting, Chair, that some of the proposed amendments answer to the specific protocol questions of the expected audit. In terms of the objectives of the legislation, the Civil Aviation Authority Amendment Bill number 9 of 2024, the summary of the objects of the bill are as follows. 1. Enhance civil aviation safety. 2. Provide clarity on the manner and form of applications for certificates and licenses in aviation. 3. Provide for the transfer of the functions of the Civil Aviation Authority over a Zambian registered aircraft engaged in international navigation to a member state of the ICAO or of the International Civil Aviation Organization, ICAO. And 4. Provide for matters connected with or incidental to the foregoing. In terms of broader benefits, the enactment of the Civil Aviation Authority Amendment Bill 2024 will do the following. 1. Enhance the country's aviation safety profile. 2. Domesticate key international agreements and enhance international relations. 3. Ensure compliance with the Chicago Convention and the ICAO standards and recommended practices. And 4. Avoid registering any significant safety concern during the ICAO audit scheduled for August 2024. In conclusion, Chair, the proposed amendment to the Civil Aviation Act number 5 of 2016 are non-contentious. I think this is number 7 of 2012. I beg your pardon. Are non-contentious and will enhance Zambia's aviation safety profile and play a key role in Zambia achieving its desired goal to be an aviation hub. The committee may wish to note that the consultations were undertaken with all key public and private sector players, and consensus was reached in order to enhance safety and service provision. Chair, I wish to submit.
Thank you so much for that wonderful submission, PS. At this moment, we will invite questions from honorable members, and we'll start with Honorable Mpundu.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, the PS is so smart because he has already answered my first question. He's quite smart. But I'll still ask you a question. How capacitated is our training school, ZAST? And the other question which you have already answered is, what has necessitated this bill? It's because of the audit, and at the same time to put ourselves in the same umbrella regarding the protocols and conventions. Now the question I wanted to ask you was, there are many protocols that are there. What benefits are we going to have in this protocol? Now, I know you have already answered in your last paragraph. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mtike.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, so just a follow-up again. We know that these amendments are coming here because of the gaps you identified in the audit that you did. So, can we assume then that the whole legislation involving the aviation industry is up to date, is up to scratch, is up to standard with the rest of the other civil aviation authorities? Because you are not bringing new legislation, you are just bringing amendments and that kind of thing. My second question is related to, you said the audit was focusing on the legislation and the autonomy of the Civil Aviation Authority. But I haven't heard that any comment with relation to that. Are we adequately covered there in the Zambia Civil Aviation Authority? Very autonomous. There is no interference from government whatsoever. You are very comfortable with the status quo at the moment, because I haven't heard you commenting on that aspect, the second aspect of your audit. Thank you. I submit.
You may proceed to respond, PS.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson. If I may start with Honorable Mpundu's question on the capacitation of ZASTI. our training institution. We have actually had a number of programs through support that we had gotten through the European Union to build capacity within the institution. And I think in terms of bringing them to that level where they are able to provide these required services, that program, the aviation support sector program, actually did quite some significant job, including provision of equipment that they need to use as they undertake the training. So from that perspective, I would say that there is sufficient capacity. However, what we need to be working on is to ensure that we bring ZAST to a point where it can survive on its own. One of the issues that you might find is that when you look at, for example, how much they are charging for their fees, the training fees, against their budget, they are not able to break even. And because of that, government has to come in and supplement. Now, we are cautious in terms of how we proceed with this, because we don't want to give them a blank check where they go ahead and increase their training fees to a point where, again, our locals cannot afford to go to ZAST for training. So it's a balance that we have to sit down with the ZAST management and find a way of ensuring that they are able to make their money from the training, in as much as government does supplement their budget. Coming to Honorable Amtike's question, can we assume that the registration is up to date? I think this specific amendment has been initiated to make the two acts aligned to the requirements of the ICAO as well as the Chicago Convention. There is a broader or a bigger amendment that will come later, which will now begin to address other concerns that aviation stakeholders might have on this. So we decided to bring these amendments in particular to fast track the process, so that when we do have the ICAO audit, in terms of the specific requirements that they would want to see Zambia being aligned to, would actually be aligned to those already. So once we get this one off our tables, then the broader amendment now that begins to look at all the various aspects will actually be undertaken. And I must say that through the same support that we were getting from the EU under the Aviation Sector Support Program, there was a legal consultant that had been engaged, and there's been some stakeholder engagement already to bring out the specific parts of the two acts that would need amendments. So this will become
to ride on the question that Honorable Mpundu asked, and also just to appreciate the effort to fit. PS, I'll give you a practical example of myself. About to start my flying. I had several engagements with Captain Piri because I wanted to train locally and so on, but unfortunately it failed until we had to go out of the country. So it's very gratifying to hear that you are supporting them, and I just wanted to find out to what extent you are supporting them, especially that we are trying to grow our aviation industry in Zambia, and the only way we can grow the aviation industry is to make sure that we support ZAST to the maximum so that it is able to stand on its own. I wanted to find out if part of the training equipment that you're supporting ZAST also includes aircrafts for training their students.
Okay, thank you so much, Chair. So the support that we got from the EU does not include aircrafts, but in trying to, help ZAST network with international bodies, we did find an investor that was willing to come and, invest in ZAST in terms of establishing a center of excellence and academy. And that investor, Sim Aero, I want to believe that they are still engaging, actually is willing to come even with simulators so that that component of the training can be enhanced. So that is something that we are doing. But maybe something that I also didn't mention is the fact that through our minister, a ministerial policy was issued. Because what we are looking at is setting ZAST as a center of excellence, like you rightly said. And in doing so, we want to position ZAST or put ZAST in a position where it would be able to, operate and carry forward its business with very little support from government. And to do that, a decision was made that ZAST be part of the CAA. As you are aware, I think if you look at the financing of CAA is actually better financed than ZAST. And if ZAST went to CAA, that would be one of the areas where they would benefit in terms of teams. Of the Civil Aviation Authority, how autonomous are they? We have quite a professional relationship between our institutions under the ministry and the ministry itself. We do engage, yes, but not to the level where we would consider ourselves as interfering. They are here, they can speak for themselves.
This is their golden opportunity.
Yeah, but just to assure that we've given them all the support that they need. Of course, there are matters where, before they undertake certain actions, they would need to brief government so that we are moving together as one, and we give them the go-ahead. Up until March this year, they were actually being funded through the Treasury. But because of the requirement for autonomy, and one of the things that ICAO will be looking at is financial autonomy, we actually wrote to the Ministry of Finance, the Treasury in particular, that they allow the Civil Aviation Authority to retain the fees that they collect at source. And the Treasury has since gone ahead to give that authority, be it that it will be something that will be done on an annual basis, but I think it's still a good start for us. So there is autonomy to that extent. Thank you.
Thank you so much, PS. Any further questions, honorable members? Any addition from your support staff, PS? Okay. Thank you so much. We are done with Bill 9. We can proceed to Bill 10.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. I'll skip the introductory part as it's very similar to the one that we have just looked at, including the background, if you permit me, so that I go straight to item number 3, which is the Civil Aviation Amendment Bill, identified gaps in the Civil Aviation Act number 5 of 2016. Now, when we look at this act, currently the principal legislation has the following gaps. 1, lack of provisions to provide a legal basis for the Zambia civil aviation requirements. The Civil Aviation Authority developed the standards for aerodromes and airfields known as the Zambia Civil Aviation Requirements, or SARS. The current act provides that an aerodrome or airfield may be used for air traffic operations if it meets the prescribed ICAO Annex 14 particularly certification of aerodromes in accordance with the ICAO Annex 14 requirements, but has no provisions for the 5-phase certification process as prescribed in the SARS Part 14. 2. Lack of provisions on handling obstructions, wildlife, strike, hazard reduction. The current act does not give aerodrome operators authority to prohibit building structure severe safety concerns in the country. And 3, inadequate provisions on the authority of the aircraft need to enhance investigation board, particularly for to site of a serious aircraft accident or serious incident and any other materials and locations relevant to the investigations. So we have Appendix 1, which shows the matrix of the proposed amendments to the current act. It's worth noting, Chair, that some of the proposed amendments, like the other bill, answer to specific protocol questions of the audit. And in terms of the objectives of the Civil Aviation Amendment Bill number 5 of 2016, the summary of the objects of the bill are as follows. 1. Enhance civil aviation safety. And 2. Provide for matters connected with or incidental to the foregoing. The broader benefits of the proposed bill: the enactment of the Civil Aviation Amendment Bill number 5 of 2016 will enhance the country's aviation safety profile and also change operators' behavior. 2. Ensure compliance with the Chicago Convention and ICAO standards and recommended practices. And 3. Avoid registering any significant concerns during the ICAO audit scheduled for August 2024. Chair, the proposed amendments to the Civil Aviation Act number 5 of 2016 are non-contentious and will enhance Zambia's aviation safety profile and play a key role in Zambia in achieving its desired goal to be an aviation hub. The committee may wish to note that consultations were undertaken with all key public and private sector players, and consensus was reached in order to enhance safety and service provision. I submit, Chair.
Thank you so much, PS. Honorable members, any questions? Honorable Mpundu.
Thank you, Chair, once more. The PS and your team, one of the issues that delays these laws to be operationalized once the law is enacted is that it takes time for the ministries to do commencement orders. There are laws which have been enacted, but some they have not been given those commencement orders, where the regulations and other issues that remains for that to be operationalized. How prepared are you as a ministry to have such commencement order and the regulation in place, such that when those auditors comes, you don't just give them to show this is the law, but the law, it has got no commencement order? How prepared are you?
Okay, thank you very much. Mine is not really a question, but just a comment, probably, because you mentioned that you've been having consultations with key public and private sector players in the industry. My concern is very much on the public sector players, because especially the councils. You are aware that in most of these small towns now, the airports have been encroached, and the people who have built on those strips, like in Sananga, for example, I don't think you can land in Sananga anymore other than with a helicopter. So my plea that I think you need to work and ensure that our local municipalities they create space for aerodromes, because with the way the economy is peaking, some of us will be having small aircraft very soon. We are not inviting ACC. But on a serious note, I think it's very, very important, especially in smaller towns. We appreciate the work the department is doing, the ministry rather is doing, for creating safety in our airports like Mongo. We appreciate that. But I think more needs to be done in our small towns to ensure that we have at least landing strips. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Honorable Mtike. Yes, PS.
Thank you so much. Let me start with Honorable Mtike. The need to work with various stakeholders, including the councils. Currently, the way the management of the aviation space in Zambia, the way it's structured, we have airports that actually fall under the Zambia Airport Corporations Limited. We also have airports that are managed by the local authorities, and also tourism in the game management areas. But in all these airports actually have one regulator, and that's the Civil Aviation Authority. And it's our job as a ministry to ensure that the regulator is engaging with the various airport operators to ensure, first of all, the safety of the traveling public, but also working with the local authorities to just make sure that these issues of encroachment are adequately dealt with. With regard to delays in operationalization of the law and whether we are ready with the issuance of the Commencement Act, let me ask my Director Planning to handle that one.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Honorable Mpundu. As you might be aware, these amendments will not require a commencement order, since they are amending the two laws that are already in operation. So once Parliament has approved the bills into acts and the President assents, then they will be operationalized. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Director. We'll get the last question from Honorable Dr. Kalila.
So thank you, Chair. It's just for clarity's sake. I know that the Civil Aviation Authority are the principal regulators in the aviation industry in this country. I want to know your relationship with the Zambia Air Force. Who regulates who? Do you have... Yeah, so I think it's very important for us. We debated over this matter last week and it was not very clear to us. So please clarify to us. Thank you.
You may proceed to respond, PS.
Okay. I will let the Director from Civil Aviation answer the question.
Okay.
Thank you very much, PS, and thank you, Chair and Honorable Member. The relationship that we have with Zambia Air Force is a relation in which we mutually work together to ensure that the airspace that we have, that we share, in fact, we do what we call civil military coordination. So currently there is a framework, even under the Act, to have this collaboration with the Air Force in terms of airspace. So because the airspace which is being used by both civil and military aircrafts, therefore this coordination is paramount, and it is one of the requirements within the ICAO annexes. But when it comes to regulatory oversight, as a CAA, I think our mandate is on civil operations in the country. So we do not overlap into the military area. Hence, also the military, they have their operations that go on, but we only meet when it comes to the airspace.
Has licensed their planes or have a say in that?
No,
Okay.
we don't.
Thank you so much, PS. Unless you have some closing remarks.
I think just to appreciate our appearance here and to thank the committee for the time. We look forward to the two bills being considered within Parliament, and therefore the recommendations of the committee will be most grateful if it can be recommended that they be considered favorably. Thank you.
Thank you so much, PS. Your office is a very busy office. This committee would like to thank you for its objective of becoming an aviation hub. We wish you all the best. Conferred upon you, and